Dante's Inferno, translated by John Ciardi. Canto 1, The Dark Wood of Error. Preview. Midway in his allotted 70 Dante comes to himself with a start and realizes that he has strayed from the true way into the dark wood of error, worldliness. As soon as he realized his loss, Dante lifts his eyes and sees the first light of the sunrise. The sun is a symbol of divine illumination, lighting the shoulders of a little hill, the Mount of Joy. It is the Easter season, the time of resurrection, and the sun is in its equinoctial rebirth. This juxtaposition of joyous symbols fills Dante with hope, and he sets out at once to climb directly up the Mount of Joy. But almost immediately his way is blocked by the three beasts of worldliness, the leopard of malice and fraud, the lion of violence and ambition, and the she-wolf of incontinence. These beasts, and especially the she-wolf, drive him back, despairing, into the darkness of error. But just as all seems lost, a figure appears to him. It is the state of Virgil, Dante's symbol of human reason. Virgil explains that he has been sent to lead Dante from error. There can, however, be no direct ascent past the beasts. The man who would escape them must go a longer and harder way. First he must descend through hell, the recognition of sin. Then he must ascend through purgatory, the reunification of sin, and only then may he reach the pinnacle of joy and come to the light of God. Virgil offers to guide Dante, but only as far as human reason can go. Another guide, Beatrice, symbol of divine love, must take over for the final ascent. For human reason is self-limited. Dante submits himself joyously to Virgil's guidance, and they move off. Midway in her life's journey, I went astray from the straight wood and woke to find myself alone in a dark wood. How shall I say what wood that was? I never saw so drear, so rank, so arduous a wilderness. Its very memory gives a shape to fear. Death could scarce be more bitter than that place. But since it came to good, I will recount all that I found revealed there by God's grace. How I came to it I cannot rightly say, so drugged and loose with sleep I had become when I first wandered there from the true way. But the far end of the valley of evil, whose maze had sapped my very heart with fear, I found myself before a little hill, and lifted my eyes. Its shoulders glowed already with the sweet rays of that planet who virtually leads men straight on every road, and shining strengthened me against the fright whose agony had racked the lake of my heart through the terrors of that piteous night. Just as a swimmer, who with his last breath flounders ashore from perilous seas, might turn to memorize the wide water of his death, so did I turn my soul so fugitive from death's surviving image to stare down that past that none had ever left alive. And there I lay to rest from my heart's race, till calm and breath returned to me, then rose and pushed up that dead slope at such a pace, each football rose above the last, and lo, almost at the beginning of the rise, I faced a spotted leopard, all tremor and flow, and gaudy pelt. And it would not pass, but stood so blocking my every turn, that time and again I was on the verge of turning back to the wood. This fell at the first widening of dawn as the sun was climbing, Aries with those stars that rode with him to light the new creation. Thus the holy hour and sweet season of commemoration did much to arm my fear of that bright murderous beast with their good omen. Yet not so much but what I stood with dread at the sight of the great lion that broke upon me, raging with hunger, its enormous head held high as if to strike a mortal terror into the very air. And down his track a she-wolf drove upon me, a starved horror, ravening and wasted beyond all belief. She seemed a rack for avarice, gaunt and craving. Oh, the many souls she has brought to endless grief. She brought such heaviness upon my spirit, at sight of her savagery and desperation. I died from every hope of that high summit. And like a miser, eager in acquisition, but desperate in self-reproach, when fortune's wheel turns to the hour of his loss, all tears and attrition, I wavered back, and still the beast pursued, forcing herself against me bit by bit, till I slid back into the sunless wood. And as I fell to my soul's ruin, a presence gathered before me on the discolored air, the figure of one who seemed hoarse from long silence. At sight of him, in that friendless weight, I cried, "Have pity on me, whatever thing you are, whether shade or living man." And it replied, "Not man, though man I once was, and my blood was Lombard, both my parents Mantuan. I was born through late sub Julio, and bred in Rome under Augustus, in the noon of the false and lying gods. I was a poet, and sang of old Anchises' noble son, who came to Rome after the burning of Troy. But you, why do you return to these distresses, instead of climbing that stunning mount of joy, which is the seat and first cause of man's bliss? And are you then that Virgil, and that fountain of purest speech?" My voice grew tremulous. "Glory and light of poets, now may that zeal and love's apprenticeship that I poured out on your heroic verses serve me well. For you are my true master and first author, the soul maker from whom I drew the breath of that sweet style whose measures have brought me honor. See there, immortal sage, the beast I flee. For my soul's salvation I beg you, guard me from her, for she has struck a mortal tremor through me." And he replied, seeing my soul in tears, "He must go by another way who would escape this wilderness, for that mad beast that flees before you there suffers no man to pass. She tracks down all, kills all, and knows no glut, but feeding she grows hungrier than she was. She mates with any beast, and will mate with more before the greyhound comes to hunt her down. He will not feed on lands nor loot, but honor, and love, and wisdom will make straight his way. He will rise between Fetril and Fetril, and in him shall be the resurrection and the new day. Of that sad Italy, for Nisus died, and Turnus and Euryalus, and the maid Camelia, he shall hunt her through every nation of sick pride, till she is driven back forever to hell, whence envy first released her on the world. Therefore, for your own good, I think it well you follow me, and I will be your guide, and lead you forth through an eternal place. There you shall see the ancient spirits tried in endless pain, and hear their lamentation as each bemoans the second death of souls. Next you shall see a burning mountain, souls in fire, and yet content in fire, knowing that, whensoever it may be, they yet will mount into the blessed choir. To which, if it is still your wish to climb, a worthier spirit shall be sent to guide you. With her I shall leave you, for the King of Time, who reigns on high, forbids me to come there, since living I rebelled against his law. He rules the waters and the land and the air, and there holds court, his city and his throne. O blessed are those he chooses, and I to him, poet by that God to you unknown. Lead me this way, beyond this present ill, and worse to dread. Lead me to Peter's gate, and be my guide through the sad halls of hell. And he then, follow. And he moved ahead in silence, and I followed where he led. Annotations. Midway in our life's journey. The biblical lifespan is 60 years and 10. The action opens in Dante's 35th year, 13,000 AD. Verse 17. That planet. The sun, Ptolemac, astronomers consider is a planet. It is also symbolic of God, as he who lights man's way. Verse 31. Each footfall rose above the last. The literal rendering would be so that if the fixed foot was ever the lower, fixed has often been translated right, but an ingenious reasoning can support that reading, but a simpler explanation offers itself and seems more competent. Dante is saying that he climbed with such zeal and haste that every footfall carried him above the last, despite the steepness of the climb. At a slow pace, the other hand, the rear foot, might be brought up only as far as the forward foot. This device of selecting a minute, but exactly centered detail to convey the whole of a larger action is one of the central characteristics of Dante's style. The three beasts. These three beasts undoubtedly are taken from Jeremiah verse 6. Many additional and incidental interpretations have been advanced for them, but the central interpretation must remain as noted. They foreshadow the three divisions of hell: incontinence, violence, and fraud, which Virgil explains at length in Canto 11 verses 16 through 111. I am not at all sure, but what the she-wolf is better interpreted as fraud and the leopard as incontinence. Good arguments can offer either way. Verse 38 through 39, Eris, that rode with him to light the new creation. The medieval tradition had it that the sun was in Aries at the time of the creation. The significance of the astronomical and religious conjunction is an important part of Dante's intended allegory. It is just before dawn of Good Friday, 13,000 AD, when he wakes in the dark wood. Thus his new life begins under Aries, the sign of creation, at dawn, rebirth. In the Easter season, resurrection. Moreover, the moon is full and the sun is in its equinox. Conditions that did not fall together on any Friday of 13,000. Dante is obviously constructing poetically the perfect Easter as a symbol of his new awakening. Verse 69, Sub Julio, in the reign of Julius Caesar. Verse 95 to 98, the greyhound, Fetril and Fetril, almost certainly refers to Cane Grande della Scala, year 1290 to year 1329, a great Italian leader born in Verona, which lies between the towns of Fetra and Montefeltro. Verse 100 to 101, Nisus, Turnus, Euryalus, and Camelia. All were killed in the war between the Trojans and the Latians, when, according to legend, Aeneas led the survivors of Troy into Italy. Aeneas and Euryalus, Aeneid 9, were Trojan comrades in arms who died together. Camelia, Aeneid 11, was a daughter of the Latin king and one of the warrior women. She was killed in a horse charge against the Trojans after displaying a great gallantry. Turnus, Aeneid 12, was killed by Aeneas in a duel. Verse 110, the second death, damnation. This is the second death, even the lake of fire. Revelations 14. Verse 118, forbids me to come there since living, etc. Salvation is only through Christ in Dante's theology. Virgil lived and died before establishment of Christ's teachings in Rome, and they cannot therefore enter heaven. Verse 125, Peter's gate. The gate of purgatory. See Purgatorio, chapter 9, verse 76 to the end. The gate is guarded by an angel with a gleaming sword. The angel is Peter's vicar. Peter, the first pope, symbolized all popes, i.e. Christ's vicar on earth, and is entrusted with the two great keys. Some commentators argue that this is the gate of paradise, but Dante mentions no gate beyond this one in his ascent to heaven. It should be remembered, too, that those who pass the gate of purgatory have effectively entered heaven. The three great gates that figure in the entire journey are the gate of hell, Canto 3, verse 1 to 11, the gate of Dis, Canto 8, verse 79 to 113, and Canto 9, verse 86 to 87, the gate of purgatory, as above.